Good morning. Try to do a talk after you've just meditated into sleeping, especially with your new baby. It's hard to not fall asleep. But I feel like I balanced out my 2 coffees, so I'm at like a nice level playing field now. So good morning and welcome. Thank you so much for coming to hear me talk and coming to Creative Mornings. Before I get started though, I'd just like to give a really big hand to all the volunteers who are in the team. I think they do exactly it's all volunteers, so yeah, really good to have this on. As Laurie mentioned, I'm a graphic recorder, I'm an illustrator, I do animation and creative thinking in general. So I take on a lot of different projects and they are all sort of very different, and I approach each one with a fresh thought. Next slide please. I'm not going to try the high kick, it will not go well. So justice is the topic that I've been asked to talk about this week, and I'm going to kind of run through a bit about how justice affects me. I started thinking about justice, and it's quite a difficult topic to relate to myself, but I think when I first thought about it, I thought about justice, I thought about judges, police, lawyers, and of course, Batman. And I tried to think how I relate to that, and I don't in any way. Definitely not Batman. But what I did kind of come to the conclusion of is justice to myself. So justice to myself, justice to my business, and justice to my creativity. And started to look at how I behave as a creative and how I actually do justice to what I do. So I'm going to walk you through those three kind of ideas and tell you a little bit about where I've come from and the kind of things that I've done. So justice for my business. I think at this point where I've come from, there's a lot of contributing factors that have brought me to this point of running my own business in the creative industry. So I'm going to take you way back to when I was a kid, start there, and then kind of work through. So next slide, please. So that's little Jimmy. That's not my dad, that's Steve Owen. One of the best moments of my life. I brought my bum bag, I was so excited to come along to so yes, so I grew up in Bundaberg, a small town, and grew up around a lot of nature. I grew up near the beach, and I love getting involved, going out to the bush, finding all the animals, and being really imaginative with that kind of stuff. So I've never really lost that. I still am obsessed with animals. I'm still obsessed with imagining things, creatures, creating crazy worlds and that kind of stuff. So I started with that, and being involved in nature and being part of that world was really important to me. So I grew up with an incredibly supportive family and had a great life growing up, and was always encouraged to think differently and think creatively about different things. So when I hit my teenage years, I was obsessed with surfing, and I was obsessed with music. And I started learning guitar and got right into that world. And my goal after school was to move on and start playing music and start playing in bands and tour around, become a touring musician. So once I left school, unfortunately it didn't start that way. I actually studied acting first. So once I left school, I went straight into an acting course, just because I got into that one. I tried for a whole bunch of music courses, but never got in. But I was very grateful because it was actually a fantastic experience. And I learned a lot of skills and a lot of different things that I don't think I ever really would have thought of learning. And a lot of life skills, a lot of emotional skills, getting some emotional maturity after coming out of school was quite an important thing that I didn't realise. So once I did that, about halfway through I decided, no, I want to get back to music. So I left that world and started studying music and started playing around Brisbane in bands, different gigs just all around the valley, and kind of lived that life for a while. Thought I was a rock star playing to a completely empty room of people, but there was alcohol, so it was okay. And really enjoyed that journey. I studied music for a while, and then I went back to sort of a bit of an open-ended, multidisciplinary creative course, and with no real idea of where I was heading after that. When I finished that course, I basically jumped around to a whole bunch of jobs. I was a cinema usher for a little while, which was great. I just watched movies, stood up the back of the cinema. Then I moved on to studying. I went to Vietnam and studied to become an ESL teacher, which was something I just did for the hell of it. I didn't really realise that it was something that would actually bring a lot of core skills to me down the track, and it's actually opened up a few doors that I'm working on at the moment. So that was fantastic, and I came back to Brisbane and worked doing that for a little while. After that, I moved to Melbourne, and my first job down there was a safari guide. Completely natural transition from ESL teacher to safari guide. But it was an amazing job. So wherever I used to drive the bus around, I had a little headset, and talk to the people, giving facts about, the giraffe has the same amount of vertebra as a human has, just a lot bigger. There you go. You're welcome. So got mock charged by rhinos, all that kind of stuff. So it was a fantastic job, but again, not where I wanted to end up. The last little random job that I settled on was a job called being a knowledge worker. I'm guessing no one in the room would know what that is. It's like a cult kind of thing. It was a very strange job that I fell into through a connection of basically big consultancies like PwC, KPMG have like small creative teams that deliver events for big corporations and government departments. And these events worked really well for creatives because you could come in, you could do a week of work with a whole bunch of other people from other disciplines like architecture or interior design or teachers or all these different kind of creative roles. And then you could do that week, earn a nice bit of cash, and then the next week go and record an album on your own time. So I really enjoyed it, but that's where I actually found out about graphic recording and how illustration could actually become part of a bit of an industry. So I had all these experiences. So then the next question was, what do I do? I've got all this random crap that I've done. What happens next? So the answer, become a human hybrid. I decided that I wasn't happy with just going in one direction and really being stuck into one idea. I actually wanted to be able to do a few different skills, so including music, including acting, including the teaching that I've done. And I started to build out what that looks like. To be honest, these days I'm still not really sure, but I kind of refined it down to this list. So the very top one, creative director, that's kind of what I think I do most of. When a client gets in touch with me, I sort of just formulate some ideas and decide what it's going to be. I'm creative director of my own business, which is just me. And my wife, of course, she's a big part of it. But I think in that role, I can kind of keep options open and start looking at where I'm going to go with different things. So the more specific parts about graphic recording, and if you haven't been to Creative Mornings before or haven't heard of graphic recording, I'll give you the really quick rundown. So generally what I'll be doing, I'll be sitting over here somewhere on my iPad that will be hooked up to a projector, and I'll be drawing out what the conversation is or what the presentation is. So I capture using notes and images and produce a one page of that talk. It all happens real time, so I'm a very, very fast drawer and I'm a very good listener. And they're the kind of skills I've built to be able to do that. And then once I finish that, I hand over the digital file to the person or to the client. And that's pretty much what that is. Illustration is a big part of what I do, so just commissioned illustrations. It's a very open-ended thing. I like to keep it open. I don't get too specific with what I do. I like to just see what needs to be done. Animation is a recent addition that I've started doing just because I started getting requests for it. So I was like, shit, I've got to learn about animation. And I did, and it's been great. I've learned a lot of great skills about that. And lastly, workshops is one that I've started getting right into, and my ESL training and learning how to teach a room has been fantastic in doing that, and working with corporate organisations and running my own sessions of basically how to think visually and how to communicate visually. And then probably other stuff that I don't know about yet. I like to keep my options open. So because I've done that, these are some of the clients that I've got to work with over the years, and I think 99% of the time I've had great experiences with all my clients. I like to keep the channels open. I work really hard, sometimes too hard, to make sure that I hit deadlines and that I get the right result for these clients. And it's always a great experience. And the fact that I have this very open sort of way of working creatively means I get to work in all these different industries, and I get to work with a lot of different people rather than being just sort of refined to one industry or one company, which is great fun. So that's me. I got to run a workshop for 60 people for a company called Arab last year, which was a really great experience to see how I can actually run a workshop with 60 people for Arab. It was a little bit daunting. I hadn't run a workshop with that many people, but it went really quite well. I just walked around a lot and really kind of got people engaged and connected with how to draw and learn some basic drawing skills and how to communicate visually. It's also led to me doing some basic consulting. So I actually work with small groups and help them visualize their story, and in doing so I have to do like a bit of an interview process. So I actually talk with them and I workshop some ideas. What's the story you're trying to tell? How can you tell it? That kind of thing. So that's me with a terrible look on my face doing that in action. So when I left school and was playing music and working, doing illustration and kind of enjoying the creative side of it, there was a bit of a notion that if you start selling your work or if you're working for companies, you're a sellout. And I never really believed it, and I never thought that was a very good way of looking at it, because I think what you can do can be monetized in a positive way. So my notion is that selling out is old school. I think anyone who's a creative works like a business, and if you're gonna succeed, you have to think of it like a business. And it's not just about the financial side. I think that it's really important to look at it from a side of having really good processes and having good ways that you work and good ways that you run your show. Because if you don't have that, things can fall to the side and you might lose business. Cool. Okay, so the next section is justice for my creativity. This is one thing that I think I need to make sure that I keep on track of, and it's really easy to lose this. I think when you're trying to run as a business, you will generally take the financial work quite quickly above any creative focus or sort of leaning towards that thing. So the next one, I hope you can read that. This is one of my favourites. I don't know if you've ever seen more of these comics, but she does some amazing stuff. I do feel like this sometimes where I think it's really important to find the balance between what you do, the work that you do, and the creativity that you bring to it, and this pressure to constantly pay the bills, keep the lights on, and keep work going is generally, I'm sure a lot of you experience that, where you're so stressed because an invoice hasn't come in, or you're so stressed because you haven't actually got any further with a job that was meant to go ahead a long time ago. And when that happens, what falls to the side is the creative aspect of what you're doing, and being able to explore creatively is so important. And I'm a big whiskey drinker, so when you taste a whiskey that's been aged in a barrel for a long, long time, the whiskey over here too, it tastes a lot better, and there's a lot more flavour in a barrel-aged malt whiskey compared to one that's not. And I think creativity works quite similar. If you don't allow time to kind of bloom and soak up some ideas, you miss a lot of valuable information, you miss a lot of valuable opportunities. So I think in giving the time to be creative is one of the best ways you can do justice to your creativity. So I think trying to think where to start with this one. When I do graphic recording jobs, a lot of the time I'll have people come up to me and they'll say, "Oh my God, you're so talented," or "You're so lucky to have that gift." I'm not lucky. I've worked fucking hard to get there. So Oh, sorry, there is swearing in this talk, by the way. But I have. I've worked for 10 years trying to develop that skill set, whether it's going from doing graphic recording, animation, or illustration as well. It's something I've worked really hard to get to that point, and I think people do have natural talents. I think people do have natural passions for things, but the only way you're going to succeed and get better in it is by working your butt off. It's also about exploration. It's about learning as well, and there are a couple of things that I try and put a lot of focus into. So I start every morning. I'll do some warm-up sketches or study sketches of things. So when I started graphic recording, I definitely wasn't a very good illustrator, and I've always drawn, but I've never drawn really professionally. I tried to draw really well. So this is something that I just found I need to work hard on this, and I need to try and find ways that I can keep working on my visualization. So I kind of mix it up each day. So Mondays I might be doing life drawing, or Tuesdays I might do some environment studies, Wednesdays might be character, that kind of thing. So I make sure I'm covering lots of different bases. But these are drawn without any intent to do anything with it. So it's literally just scrolling on, I'd say page, but I work digitally, so scrolling on the screen, a whole bunch of things. So I could draw about 10,000 eyes on a page and go, yeah, I'm not going to do anything with that and just leave it. But it's about the process. It's about actually giving it a go and seeing if you can find some different ways. Because sometimes you'll find a really good way to represent something. Okay, so I wanted to just talk through a couple of projects that I've done where the business and creativity has met really well. And so I've got three to show you. So this is one that I did a little while ago for a podcast, and it's a couple of guys in New York who do a podcast about writing New Yorker cartoons. So it's called Is There Something in This? And basically what they do is they just sit and throw ideas about what they could do, what's funny, that kind of thing. So Jason Chatfield and Scott Dooley, I think he used to be a presenter for Triple J. So they basically just talk about it, and we had a chat about how I could do a graphic recording of their podcast and capture sort of what's happening. So this was the output, and it was a really pleasant job to work with because it was done completely remotely. Most of the time I'm usually in the room when I do this kind of stuff, so it was done completely remotely, and it was just a really interesting conversation to be able to follow through, and a really pleasant experience to work with them. So this is a very recent project I've just done for the band DZ Death Race. Basically, I had a chat with them last week about, very recent, about doing a t-shirt design. They asked me to do a t-shirt design for the new album launch. And this brief was a very vague brief, which I'm sure some people will recognise can be like a terrifying thing. Or it can be a really good thing. Depends what mood you're in. If you're really under pressure, you're just like, just tell me what you want, please. But in this case, I had a bit of time to work on it. So yeah, it was a fantastic job. And they kind of just told me what their album cover was going to look like. They showed me a picture of the album cover and said, this is the rough idea. Can you come up with something along those lines? And I kind of pitched the idea, and they said, yeah, great, just roll with that. And I sent through a couple of colour variants of it, and they said, yeah, we like that one, let's do it, and I'm very happy. So it was a very smooth job, and they paid really quickly too, which is great. But yeah, it was just a nice experience, and I was really happy with the creative outcome of that one too. Okay, this one's an animation. Go for it. So I'll just talk you through it. So for West Village, Brisbane, they're over in West End. This was last year. When they were doing their launch, they talked about wanting to do like a promotional animation for it. So I came up with a colour palette, I came up with some design aspects, I got some digital brush strokes that I told them this is what I've been using, and they said, yep, sweet, can you draw this, gave me a massive list of things. And basically I went in with the client, we laid out a whole bunch of different pieces of paper with the pictures, and we kind of moved them around, took ones out, and it was just a really great process. It took a long time to do. A lot of the animation was actually frame by frame, so I don't know if anyone's ever done that, but it takes so long. It looks really good in the end, but it's so much work. And the end product was great. We got a composer to write like an original music track for it, and I think they've gone on to take some of the branding and put it up around town as well. So yeah, so that was a fantastic project with a really, really nice outcome as well. Can't remember what's next. Justice for me. Okay, so this is the third and final part that I've explored. So this is the one I'm worst at, providing justice for myself. I think when you're working creatively, it's very easy to put yourself at the back and put everything else at the front. Not just creatively, in any job, it's very easy to look at what you've got to do and forget about your health and your well-being. I do it all the time, and I shouldn't really be talking about this now. So I've been very lucky to work in a lot of places around the world. I teamed up with a UK consulting company about 7 years ago, I think, and I've worked with them quite a bit in all these different places, and it's been fantastic. I've seen a lot of cool stuff, got to work with a lot of cool people, and just kind of move around quite a bit and really soak it up. And it's been fantastic, but it is incredibly taxing. From an emotional standpoint, being away from family, being away from home, but also like working really long hours, going home to an empty hotel room and not having too much going on. So I've tried to make sure that when I do them, I'm connected to the world back home, and that I'm connected to myself and my creativity. I have started taking a little MIDI keyboard with me, so I just sit in my hotel room and like write little songs. It's fun. Yeah? No. No high kicks, no songs. Okay, so then I think in creativity, especially when people are starting out, I remember hearing this message a lot of just say yes to everything. So take on every job you can, take on every experience you can. I think you can miss opportunities if you don't do this. At the same time, I think you can get some really shitty opportunities. And you can get some jobs that you probably wish you said no to, and I've had that quite a bit. I think saying yes to everything is important, but it's got to be stuff that you want to do. And it's got to be stuff that means something to you, and it's stuff that you actually get something out of at the end. I'm sure we've all heard the exposure word, and it's one that we don't talk about here. If I do see that word in an email, I'll generally just delete the email. I think it's an interesting thing, because what I've started doing, and I've started changing my ways. I would take on a lot of work that I maybe saw like possible potential in, but didn't really know where it would go. And then I've kind of changed my tact, and if it is one that really does interest me, I'll jump into it. This is potentially unpaid work, by the way. But what I will actually do now is I actually start approaching other places. So instead of them coming to me, I'll go, look, I really like what you're doing. Can I get involved in that? Can I jump on that project? And I feel like I'm getting better results out of that. For myself, it takes the stress away and it's more interesting. So, yeah. Another thing that I've started doing for me is comics. I absolutely love drawing comics all of a sudden. And I think it's because of the story aspect. I love creating stories. Like I said, when I was a kid, I'd be creating worlds and characters and that kind of thing. And I think it's been a really good exploration to start telling stories in this form. It's a very cheap way to produce stories. I don't have to make a film and have a huge budget or anything like that. I can just sit there and put a few hours into it. So this is a bit of a new direction that I've been going in, and and I'm starting to kind of get some really cool stuff out of it. And I don't know what I'll do with it, but it's just nice